So, what if some supernatural events occur that might, people think, change what the Bible does and says? Well, the Navy has a laser defense system on their, I think it's the Raptor jet F-22 or something, that actually creates a UFO and moves it away from the jet to another area so that any missiles would come at it, because there's some modern technologies now, more than just heat-seeking missiles, that can find that jet. So they provide a UFO image of some aircraft further away, and so the Navy has applied for a patent, I think back in 2004 for something like that. And that very well might be some of the things that people are talking about, strange things are happening on military bases. Well, strange things have always happened on military bases. They had flying saucers, and they actually were working, but they were hard to navigate, so they continued. Remember the single-wing airplanes way back when? When strange things come out, stealth aircraft can also create problems that images in and out of radar. They can look like UFOs, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Or one appears and the other doesn't. So, sunshine, all kinds of things. So also, we'll look at other supernatural events that are actually supernatural. What are those? How about angelic demonic beings? The Antichrist will have the whole world worshiping him because of his UFO miraculous events. Let's just look into that. There's a whole plethora of investigations of UFOs for decades. And where did I go to find out events like that? Guess where I went? To Wikipedia. Unidentified flying objects. Wikipedia. Go here. Put that there. This is where I got my information. And it's a great site because if you're interested in a particular UFO at a particular time, just click on it. All kinds of additional information you can achieve. Black Triangle, flying saucers, give you pictures, the Foo Fighter, ghost rockets, all kinds of information. And this gives you an idea. There are a lot of technical explanations that are plausible, and some are still not explicable, but not enough plausible information has come through where they can definitely say that this is not something of this world, that something from another world came by and did that. So we can continue on. To a couple of incidents. In the Pacific European theaters during World War II, Foo Fighters, metallic spheres, balls of light, and other shapes that followed aircraft were reported and on occasion photographed by Allied and Axis pilots. Some proposed Allied explanations at the time, which included St. Elmo's fire, the planet Venus, hallucinations from oxygen deprivation, or German secret weapons. All the way back to 46. March 2021, news media announced a comprehensive report compiled of UFO events accumulated by the United States over the years, and they haven't come forth yet because they just have bogged down in the bureaucracy of printing. But UFOs have been subject to investigations over the years that varied widely in scope and scientific rigor. Governments or independent academics in the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Japan, Peru, France, Belgium, Sweden, and so on are known to have investigated UFO reports at various times. So over the decades, nothing has come up that you can definitively say we've been visited by aliens. Among the best-known government studies are the ghost rockets investigated by the Swedish military, Project Blue Book, previously Project Sign, and Project Grudge. conducted by the U.S. Air Force. And we had the secret U.S. Army Air Force Project Twinkle investigated into green fireballs, and so on. Details are the important thing. Plausibility, then the conclusion. Project Sign, 1948, produced a highly classified finding. You can take a look at that at Wikipedia. That some UFO reports probably had an extraterrestrial explanation. We have no citations there. And Project Sign's final report, published in early 1949, stated that while some UFOs appeared to represent actual aircraft, there was not enough data to determine their origin. So if you can't conclude either way, largely natural phenomena is the explanation. And Project Blue Book, trained astronomer, served as scientific advisor for Project Blue Book, was initially skeptical, but eventually came to the conclusion that many of them could not be satisfactorily explained, and was highly critical of what he described as the cavalier disregard for the project. Scientific studies. Scientific studies had received little support in mainstream scientific literature. You'd think that if it was hysterical and would get on the front page news, they would get involved in it. But apparently, from the conclusion, there was not enough scientific information to investigate to come up with a proper conclusion that might be popular in the news. Well, at least 30% of the cases studied remained unexplained, and that scientific benefit might be gained by continued study, but it was never pursued. Critics argue that all UFO evidence is anecdotal. There are not enough details and can be explained by prosaic natural phenomena, which we'll look at a couple. Defenders of UFO research counter that knowledge of observational data, other than what is reported in the popular media, is limited in the scientific community, and further study is needed. I studied this myself. I read one of the U.S. Air Force books on it years ago, and was fascinated by it. And there was nothing further that you could get to. You felt not an incomplete study, but basically there was not enough information to check out to find out whether it's scientifically plausible or not. Well, look at all these different ones. You can go to the website at Wikipedia and see if there's any further details. And we have 1947, post-1947, the Project Sign, one of the earliest studies, secret extraterrestrial conclusion. Sign investigators wrote a top-secret intelligence estimate to that effect, but the Air Force Chief of Staff, Hoyt Vandenberg, ordered it destroyed. The existence of this suppressed report was revealed by several insiders who had read it, such as astronomer and U.S. Air Force consultant J. Allen Hynek and Captain Edward Ruppelt, the first head of the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book, which is a compilation of a number of investigations and sightings. I would guess there were certain top-level things, weapons that were being developed, and people thought that was strange because it was a development, and they didn't want to release information about what projects they were working on, like the flying saucer, which actually worked, but it was too difficult to navigate and too expensive to operate. So we're back to the same old winged aircraft. Brazil, sighting a UFO in 1977. Nothing seemed to come of that. Canada and France. Italy, notable cases, UFO sighting in Florence, Italy. Italian airplane left Rome for Naples, sighted a mysterious round object. 2 Italian Air Force planes from Campiano confirmed the sighting. In the same year, there was another sighting at Casale Airport near Turin. So we have a number of things, but nothing conclusive. And then it was one incident, and then maybe a few more that were like it, and then nothing consistent after that. I'm trying to get to this picture here. Take a look at this picture. There's a sighting right there. Actually was real. A real sun reflection of a ship beyond the horizon, and it happened to angle towards here and probably bounced off a cloud or something. But it hovered there for a while. That's Fata Morgana, a type of mirage in which objects located below the astronomical horizon appear to be hovering in the sky just above the horizon and may be responsible for some UFO sighting, just like this one here that was concluded to be a Fata Morgana, floating just above the horizon, the reflected image of a boat. And it can also distort the appearance of distant objects, something that makes them unrecognizable. Sunlight. And clouds. Here's a cloud that looks just like a fleeing flying saucer. It even has a circle on the bottom and it's shaped. Lenticular clouds. This actual cloud have in some cases been reported as UFOs due to their peculiar shape. Studies show that after careful investigation, the majority of UFOs can be identified as ordinary objects or phenomena. The most commonly found identified sources of UFO reports are astronomical objects, bright stars, planets, meteors, re-entering man-made spacecraft, artificial satellites, and the moon. Aircraft, aerial advertising, and other aircraft missile launches, and missile launches. Balloons, weather balloons especially. The sun reflects off the silver top of it and plays havoc with observations by pilots flying by or people from the Earth. Other atmospheric objects and phenomena like birds, unusual clouds, kites, flares, which we've seen the clouds, light phenomena in mirages, the Fata Morgana, ball lightning, moon dogs, searchlights, and other ground lights. And number one, hoaxes. Now everybody's yelling and screaming, especially people who are into conspiracy theories and want more and more and more information. We do have an actual UFO machine that's installed at the back end of, I think it's the F-22. I want to go down there and look at it. Hit that first. Where's my Navy machine? This is the whole website of Wikipedia. Here it is here. Naval technology provides UFO events, self-defending against any attacks on the F-22, I think it is. New technology under patent by the U.S. Navy could shift the odds even further into the favor of stealth aircraft, leveraging lasers to produce plasma bursts that could trick inbound missiles into thinking they found a jet to chase that would actually be a little more than a hologram. This technology has already been used to create laser plasma balls that can transmit human speech. I'm going to be honest with you here. That sentence is as hard to wrap my head around as the writer as it probably is for you to grasp as a reader. Talking plasma balls. This is an article I've got on the internet. Here's a video from our friends at Military Times running down this cutting-edge plaza. You can look at the video. Talking lasers and endless flashbangs. Other applications for this laser system seems to include use of a non-lethal weapon and even as a continuous flashbang grenade that could keep opponents in an area disoriented and unable to respond. So how does the Navy intend to leverage this sort of technology to make stealth aircraft even harder to hit? According to their patent, the laser system could be installed on the tail of an aircraft and upon detection of an inbound missile could literally project an infrared signature that would be comparable to a moving fighter jet's exhaust out away from the fighter itself. Multiple systems could literally project multiple aircraft, leaving inbound missiles to go after the decoy plasma fighters instead of the actual laser-produced aircraft itself. This laser-induced plasma filaments, as researchers call them, can be projected up to hundreds of meters, depending on the laser system employed, and here's the part that'll really blow your mind, can be used to emit any wavelength of light. That means these systems could effectively display infrared to full inbound heat-seeking missiles, ultraviolet, or even visible light. Of course, it's unlikely that the system could be used to mimic the visual cues of